July 5th.
And that's a good idea.
Good evening and welcome to the Common Council meeting for June 25, 2013. Clerk will call the roll, please.
Hanson. Jarvis. Here. Sedlacek. Markham.
Here.
Williams.
Here.
Nelson.
Here.
Fernsler.
Here.
Anderson.
Here.
Let the record show we have a quorum for a Common Council meeting. Next item is the pledge. Please stand. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item on the agenda is approve the list of items for consideration on the consent agenda. Item 7, Chair will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve the list of items for the consent agenda.
Second, Alder Markham.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Anderson.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Markham.
Yes.
Jarvis.
Yes.
Fernsler.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Item 4 is the audience portion where the chair recognizes the people who sign in ahead of time, where you get to talk and we get to listen. And tonight, Clerk Huberty has signed in. Clerk Huberty, why don't you fill us in on a couple interest items in the city?
Okay, I have an announcement from MSA Professional Services, who administers the City of Plymouth Community Development Block Grant Program, that there still remains 0% interest loans to eligible City of Plymouth households for home repairs. Applications are accepted on a first-come, first-served basis. There is no cost to fill out an application, and all information submitted is strictly confidential. There is a deadline for the program, so please apply as soon as possible. For more information or to obtain an application, please contact Susan Meyer at the Housing Program Office at MSA at 1-800-552-6330. Applications are also available at the Clerk Treasurer's Office at City Hall, and they are also on the City of Plymouth website, www.plymouthgov.com. And I know that there is a balance of, over $200,000, so there's plenty of opportunities for people who are in need of this type of program. Also, the Clerk Treasurer's Office has received an application for the 4th of July fireworks, is being sponsored by Quickwioc Athletic Complex. The permit states that the fireworks will be on July 4th with a rain date of July 5th. So for all those people who have been wondering and calling, that is the information we have right now at Quickwioc Athletic Complex on July 4th.
Thank you, Clerk Huberty. Again, we encourage citizens who have something of interest to come and talk to us and address the council. And of course, that's replayed on TV 14 for the community. Moving on, item 5. Resolution number 10, a resolution approving the preliminary official statement and details of combined utility revenue refunding bond series 2013. Administrator Jurgis, you want to touch base on that for us?
Sure, Mayor, you can decide how you want to word it, but basically we're looking for no action tonight. Basically, the Fed Reserve talked about ending the quantitative easing. As a result of that, that has really pushed bond rates higher. And if we would have moved forward with the sale, it would have been highly unlikely that it would have met the parameters in the resolution we adopted. So we will not be refinancing it tonight. A couple of good things, though. We were able to catch Moody's before they went to committee, where they were going to issue a bond rating, because we caught them before they went to committee. They did not finish the bond rating, and so the $10,000 fee we will not be assessed. It would have been okay if they still would have done it, but those bond ratings are only good for 60 days, so if we didn't get the deal done in 60 days, we would have, spent 10 grand and not gotten anything for it. Typically, if we don't move forward, what Ellers usually does is they write off their fees, and Quarles and Brady does the same thing. So we're not going to lose anything if we don't move forward. However, we're going to kind of sit tight here, wait till after July 4th, kind of see where things are at in the market, and potentially bring something back the last meeting in July for action. And if it doesn't look good, then we'll continue to delay it. This is a refinancing, so we're not under any specific deadline to refinance it by. If you recall, the bond language, the trigger in it was when the U.S. Treasury decreased how much reimbursement we got on our 35% tax subsidy. That triggered our ability to refinance it, so we can refinance that debt at any time when it's competitive to do so. So
That's
the update.
a good update, and we'll look forward to seeing this on a future agenda when it becomes more beneficial to us. Thank you. Moving on, item 6. I declare a public hearing open. Ordinance number 6, an ordinance amending the City of Plymouth Comprehensive Planned Land Use Map by changing property located at Eastern Avenue from general business and environmental corridor to mixed residential. This is a second presentation, and this was recommended by the Plan Commission Resolution number 2 on June 6, 2013. At this point, the Chair will recognize anyone who wants to speak on this subject. I would ask Administrator Yurgis to give us a brief summary, and then we'll take any other comments.
This is, we've talked about this one other time. It's the piece of property kind of a little bit behind Advanced Auto. Previously, the city had a development approved there for, I believe, some sort of mixed residential development that did not occur. January 1, 2010, the comp plan law went into place, and zoning and comp plan decisions are supposed to be consistent. Currently, it's listed as general business, and there is a proposed apartment project for that property, and so the consideration is to change it to mixed residential from general business and environmental corridor to mixed residential. The one amendment that I would request, or staff would request, and this is something I've talked with Bill Emick, Director of Public Works, about, is that with his GIS mapping, the environmental corridor is actually a separate layer of the GIS, and because it's a separate layer, we don't necessarily need to change the environmental corridor part of the description, because there's still a wetlands, and they wouldn't be able to build in the wetlands anyway, and so we do not necessarily need to change the environmental corridor description. So that would be one request of staff to make that amendment to this ordinance.
Thank you, Administrator Yurgis. Do we have any other comments or questions regarding the public hearing portion of this? The Administrator Yurgis, are you then saying that we would not
We can change the general-
concur
we can-
with the Plan Commission as they passed it?
Correct.
And to do that,
We would need a
supermajority.
supermajority.
And tonight, that would be 6.
Correct.
Is that correct,
Correct.
Attorney Fever? Thank you, okay. That's the only comment I had on that. It's a technicality, but it's a good point to bring up.
Yeah, I don't think we realized that the environmental corridor was a separate layer, and since it's a separate layer, there's no need to change that.
Any other comments? I declare a public hearing closed on ordinance number 6. The chair will entertain a motion.
So moved. Anderson.
Second, Alder Jarvis.
With the assumption to
Yeah.
delete the environmental corridor.
Right.
Thank you for clarification.
Just.
Oh, wait
environmental
one
corridor.
second.
Two mixed, it's general business, two mixed residential.
Okay.
So it'll just be general business, two mixed residential.
Correct. We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll for ordinance number 6.
Williams. Nelson.
Yes.
Fernsler.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Jarvis.
Yes.
Markham.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. I declare a public hearing open for ordinance number 7, an ordinance amending the City of Plymouth Comprehensive Plan land use map category description of mixed residential. This is the second presentation, also recommended by the Plan Commission Resolution number 3 on June 6, 2013. Again, I'll ask Administrator Yurgis to lead the discussion, and the chair will recognize anyone else who wants to speak on the subject. Administrator?
Sure, in the comp plan, the definition for mixed residential is a variety of residential development at densities up to 8 dwelling units per acre. So the 8 dwelling units per acre is part of the existing definition for mixed residential in the comp plan. The new language would be a variety of approved residential development at different densities as allowed under the zoning code. The issue is that the zoning language isn't as strict as for mixed use as the language is for mixed residential in the comp plan. And rather than changing the zoning code to make it stricter, the Plan Commission would like to loosen up the comp plan language. I guess, Inspector Pete, do you have anything you want to comment on besides that, or?
Well, it also extended into different types of residential applications, and it just kind of cleaned it up that whatever because the comprehensive plan and our zoning plan should reflect, and it was a little bit of a conflict. So we just kind of cleaned it up with that.
Thank you. Any other comment? I declare a public hearing closed. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the amendment as indicated.
So move, Alder Nelson. Second, Alder Anderson.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Markham.
Yes.
Jarvis.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Fernsler. Nelson.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Item 7 is a consent agenda. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda A through F.
So moved, Alder Markham.
Second, Alder Williams.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Williams.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Fernsler.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Jarvis.
Yes.
Markham.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Item 8 is not needed. Item 9, Finance and Committee Report. Item A, authorize city administrator and city clerk to enter into a contract for assessor services. I would ask Administrator Yurgis to give us a brief summary, and then the chair will entertain a motion.
Sure. We issued a request for proposal for assessor services. As you know, our existing assessor has decided to terminate the existing agreement. We received, let's see here, five proposals that were submitted. Tyler Technology, this was the lowest bid, and we believe that they meet the specifications. Some of the things that the Finance Committee talked about was doing a market adjustment as part of that agreement. As you know, we're getting close to being assessed at 110%, and so that market adjustment in 2015 or 16 will help us keep into compliance with the Department of Revenue requirements. In addition, looking at migrating to the Tyler Technologies platform for assessment data, which adds $1,400 in year one, $1,400 in year two, and $400 of maintenance in year three. So that the annual with the annual costs, the total cost for all of that over 3 years is $57,350. Currently, I believe our costs are about $77,000, and so we'd save about $20,000 over the 3-year period. So the consideration is to award the assessor services contract to Tyler Technologies. And then I guess I would defer to Chairperson or Chairman Markham if he had any other comments.
Well, I think the other comment kind of buried in the existing costs is we have our current software package we use, the city assessor used, does cost us $1,200 a year when that cost would go away. So that's factored into that savings. And the current contract did not call for a revaluation in the next 3 years. So that,
It's a market up.
or the market update wouldn't have been done in the next 3 years under our current existing agreement. So that's additional money that we could say that is being saved. So as a committee, we felt very comfortable with moving forward with Tyler Technologies.
Chair will call on Chairperson Markham for a motion on authorize city administrator and city clerk to enter into a contract for assessor services for.
I make a motion to enter into contract for the assessor services with Tyler Technologies for a 3-year bid at a cost of, what was that, Patty?
$57,350.
$57,350.
Second.
We-
Alder Anderson.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion?
Just to clarify,
Go
Mayor,
ahead,
that it
Clerk
is
Huberty.
moving from our current Market Drive software to the, it's called
Universe.
Universe software of Tyler Technologies.
Mhm.
Any other comments? Clerk will call the roll.
Markham,
Yes.
Jarvis.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Fernsler,
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Thank you, motion carried. 9B, approve filling of a water operator position at Plymouth Utilities. The chair will ask Administrator Yurgis to give us a brief summary, and then I'll ask Chairperson Markham of Personnel to comment.
There's basically Dan Fry, the water foreman, and John Slattery, the water operator. Both of them are planning on retiring by February 1st. Those are two people that have been in the water department for a long time. They deal with all the underground water utilities as well as the sanitary sewer collection system in the ground. And given that they are long tenure positions, it would behoove us to get someone in there to start working with them over the next few months this year to learn the system. Director Emick posted the position according to the union contract, and Doug Cole within the electrical department signed up for the position, and we're looking to shift Doug into that role to work with Dan and John over the next few months, and then reevaluate that this fall to see where things are gonna go, and begin a transition of new personnel for the water department. So that's kind of the quick and dirty summary. If Doug fills that position on a permanent basis, there would be an opening in the electrical department, and then Jim Peterson would want to address that in the future. And then I guess I would ask Director Emick if he has any other comments, anything you want to highlight.
That covers it.
Sounds good. Chair will recognize Chairperson Markham for a motion regarding the filling of the water operator position 1.
Yeah, I don't have any other comments. Brian did a good job telling us about it. So I make a motion to fill the water operator position at Plymouth Utilities per Brian's description with Doug Cole.
Second, Williams.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Jarvis.
Yes.
Fernsler.
Yes.
Markham.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Motion carried, thank you. 9C, approve a high deductible health plan document drafted by Prairie States and authorize city administrator and city clerk to make minor modifications as needed prior to January 1st, 2014 implementation. Administrator Yurgis, why don't you give us a brief
Sure,
summary
you
on that?
have the entire medical plan, draft plan in front of you. Just a little bit of background is that this is something the Finance and Personnel Committee has been discussing since, I believe, February of this year, to create that, move the health plan to a high deductible health plan. This plan includes all of the Obamacare language, includes all the requirements for preventative care that we're required to cover. This plan will be paired with a health savings account, which we'll have to go through a process to select who the vendor would be for the health savings account. The annual contributions for single coverage to a health savings account for 2014 is $3,300 and family is $6,550. But the draft plan includes a deductible for single, which is $1,250 and $2,500 for family. The maximum out of pocket is $5,000. And after the deductible is met, the coinsurance is 90/10, which is consistent with the existing plan. Prescription drug costs would apply to the deductible and coinsurance up to the amount out of pocket maximum amounts. Currently, the deductible for a single plan is 400, employee plus 1 is 500, employee plus 2 is 550. Coinsurance is the 90/10% with the maximum out of pocket for $700 for single and $1,300 for family. The existing plan also has co-payments for prescription drugs. That's kind of a quick summary of the change. The other thing I would want to point out is the Finance and Personnel Committee is discussing potential contributions to the individual HSA accounts on behalf of the employee to soften the impact of moving to the high deductible health plan. Those discussions will continue during the budget process and will have to be something that will be figured into the health insurance budget as to what those contributions may be. Part of the idea of approving the high deductible health plan at this point is really by July we need to go out and get bids for the stop loss premiums, and so this will hopefully impact what that stop loss increase may be. Last year we saw a 17.6% stop loss increase, so we're hoping with the change over to the high deductible model that'll help with that. The second thing is it will provide an incentive, even if we contribute to the health savings account, depending on what dollar amount that is. It still will provide an incentive for employees to use the Center for Health and Wellness. One of the issues is, well, if I've met my deductible, why should I use the Center for Health and Wellness? And so with such a low deductible, it doesn't provide an incentive for the employee to use that. The third thing that I'm deeply concerned about with the way our COBRA calculation is figured out, by 2018, the excise tax comes into place, and the excise tax is the famous Cadillac tax. And basically how it works is let's say our plan, what qualifies for a Cadillac plan is a plan that's worth $20,000. Our COBRA rate says the plan is worth $20,000. Well, let's say that in 2018 our COBRA rate comes out that our plan is valued at $30,000. So the difference between $20,000 and $30,000 is $10,000. What happens is that $10,000 gets multiplied by the excise tax of .40 or 40%, and the tax on that health insurance plan is then $4,000. If you take our existing COBRA rate for a family plan, that comes out roughly to $27-some thousand. Now, of course, we don't pay the COBRA rate. What we pay annually is based on premiums, but nonetheless, the excise tax is based on the COBRA rate. If you take our COBRA rate and you multiply that by 6% annually and compound that 6%, we're going to hit the excise tax in 2018, and there will be an excise tax that will apply to the city of Plymouth. So part of this is trying to avoid the excise tax in the long run, and this will change the pricing mechanism and should change how the COBRA rate is calculated, which may defer when the excise tax may occur, but I can't say it's gonna for sure eliminate us from having that excise tax in the future. I think what's going to happen is initially these many plans are going to hit the excise tax, and then in 2019 and 20 it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and over time I think more and more plans are going to hit that excise tax, and that may provide an incentive for companies to be looking at the exchanges. But what's going to happen in 2018, I don't know, but that's kind of some of the thought process as to why we would be looking to convert to the high deductible health plan. Questions on that?
Thank you, Administrator Yurgis. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the high deductible plan draft as stated, with having city administrator and city clerk authorized to make minor modifications as needed for implementation by January 1, 2014.
So moved, Alder Markham.
Second, Alder Anderson.
We have a first and a second to approve the plan. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Markham.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Fernsler.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Jarvis.
Motion carried, thank you. It's a plan in process, and certainly we're trying to solve the problem and save
Yeah,
some
there will be
money
other-
for the city.
There'll be other things that'll be coming up, obviously a big decision as to what the Common Council may approve through the budget process in terms of HSA contribution. The other thing that'll come up is we have to select an HSA vendor, so that, there are other things that will be discussed related to this, so the work isn't done.
Sounds good, thank you. Moving on, item 10, new business. Award the contract for Phase 1, construction of well number 17 to Lane Christensen Company, Pewaukee, Wisconsin, for the bid price of $178,415, subject to obtaining final permits from the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources. DPW Manager Bill, did you want to give us any brief summary on that before we ask for a motion?
Well, just to make sure, this is phase 1 of well 17, which is located on County Creek Highway Z, west of the reservoirs. It's it's out of the city limits. And so it'll be the drilling and the construction, development, and testing of, we hope, is a 550 gallon per minute well. After the well is drilled and developed, we'll go on with more bids to have a building put up, the pump put in, then there is iron in this water, so we'll be building an iron removal system. And if things go according to plan, that'll happen next year. The prices is well within what we estimated. The fact that Midwest Services gave us a high bid, just the fact that they were submitting another bid helped us get a good price from Lane. And I would certainly recommend that we proceed with the project and have Lane Christensen at the bid price. The permitting from the DNRs, there's still a few issues, I believe, with the runoff being within a mile of that Bend Nut Creek, I believe, so we're working out those details. It depends, it's the amount of water we're pumping and how much it reduces the flow in the creek. There's some questions about that, so they're working to get that ironed out. Any
Good.
questions about the well? Thank you.
Administrator
Yes,
Yurgis,
just
comment?
two comments. One is I just want to point out that this is the first part of the project, the well construction, the well house, and the mechanicals will be a second phase of the project. And that, the cost of this is covered in a 2007 bond issuance. So we have bond proceeds that are gonna pay for this project. And then, just to emphasize, Bill's bold print about, in the minutes, it should say, subject to obtaining final permits from the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources. So it would be contingent on that.
On that, that's a good point.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Just wanna make sure that.
The chair will entertain a motion to approve the contract award for $178,415 as stated to Lane Christensen Company, Pewaukee, Wisconsin, subject to obtaining final permits from Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources.
So move, Alder Nelson.
Second, Alder Markham.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion?
Now, this well was tested several years ago too, was it not?
We had a test well drilled there.
Okay, so that casing is no longer there, this would be totally new casing?
Yeah, this would be a
then?
completely new, yes, that was a smaller well. Now they're gonna end up with I would imagine a 16-inch well.
Oh,
Yeah, the diameter of the well will be bigger, and the other part is what happened from when the test well was drilled from years ago, because it's been so long since we drilled it. It just so happens that the DNR rules have changed on the review process for wells, and so some additional information had to be submitted to the DNR, which when we did the test well, that information was not required. And it's got to do with this, partly with this creek that may be impacted a little
Within the
bit.
trout stream.
Right.
Any other questions, comments? Clerk will call the roll.
Fernsler. Williams.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Markham.
Yes.
Jarvis.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Motion carried, thank you. New business, item B, authorize city administrator to enter into a purchase agreement with JL Business Interiors Incorporated, West Bend, Wisconsin, in an amount not to exceed $86,444.71 for furniture at the Plymouth Utility Operations Center. Administrator Yurgis, you want to give us a brief summary on that, please?
Sure. Originally, we were gonna get furniture proposals and have that to council for council consideration, prior to moving to the, new utilities building. For a variety of reasons, those proposals were not received and we weren't able to move forward with that at the time we took occupancy in August 2012. We were able to, this spring, put together a request for proposal document, which was based, the language in the document was borrowed from Manitowoc County. They just went through a process of getting furniture bids for an administrative building. And we used their RFP as a template, and we issued an RFP based on furniture that fits the room sizes of the offices, as well as the training area, lunchrooms and so forth. We received 6 bids. Those bids range from $86,444.71 of JL Business Interiors to Lakeshore Interiors, which is $104,000, call it. Some of those bids in between meet the requirements of the bid specs. Some of them, I would say, are a little light and probably don't meet the specifications because the sizes weren't exact, or they didn't follow the direction. But the low bidder, which is JL Business Interiors, all the components and all the desktops meet the bid specifications. They are all laminate tops, steel desks, so there's no fancy wood, wood desks or anything like that. They do meet the requirements of the bid. There are some sample chairs down there that if you wanted to take a look at, you could. The chairs were substitutes from what was in the bid. There's one chair that is a little bit cheaper quality than what we thought we spec'd out. We could probably make it work. There's another one that's a little bit better, a few dollars more. The main office, the primary office chair is the gray one down there, which is $261 in the bid. A little bit concerned from a staff perspective that those chairs aren't going to hold up. So I guess I don't know what the philosophy of the Common Council is, but the thought would be is to look at the little bit. Oh, one other thing before I go to that. Some of the desks, JL Business actually recommends some additional support legs that cost like $20 a piece, so not a large item, but they did make that recommendation. But what our thought would be is to pick a do not exceed dollar amount to approve, and as long as we stay within that dollar amount or less, that if we make minor changes where we add support legs for $20 or we change a chair a little bit to be a little bit better quality, that would be okay to live within that dollar amount. When we didn't really have a specific dollar amount budgeted for this. I know when we went through the building process, the architect threw out maybe $75,000. That was just a ballpark number, so there wasn't a specific dollar amount that was estimated, which is partly why we did an RFP. And I do know that doing the RFP process, we'd be paying a lot more if we didn't do the RFP process, because when we talked to all these companies, they all estimated $100,000 or more. So I do believe the RFP process did help. The other thing we're looking at potentially doing is, you see some of those old wood chairs in the back. We have some extra ones at City Hall that we might be able to use in certain areas of the utilities building, so we wouldn't be buying necessarily all those chairs. But I guess I would turn it over to the council to ask questions or provide feedback or thoughts on how they would like to proceed.
I think proper process would be to have a first and a second and then discussion and see where we want to go from there. So the chair will entertain a motion at this time.
I move to accept the JL Business Interiors bid of $86,000, not to exceed $86,444, with the addition of some, the ability of the city administrator to make some minor changes or substitutions.
We have a first and a second discussion.
The red chair down there is the most comfortable.
I agree.
I
The red
tried
one
it
is
too.
not- That's one of the ones, the red one is not in, the red one's not in the bid.
Oh, but
But if we eliminated some, I think the cost is like $10 more, so if we eliminated some chairs, we might get the red one, which is a little bit sturdier than the one they bid.
And Brian, you said that they recommended some additional supports
Correct.
for the desk. Do you expect to get that in this $86,000?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think there's some things that I think there is, let's see here, the skater room, there's about $1,000 related to that. I think we're gonna delete that and not move forward with that furniture in that room, which, so that's an example of how we'll stay within that dollar amount. I think in the end, you're even gonna see that we're gonna be less than this 86,444, but I don't know how you guys wanna handle it. Do you wanna get every little detail, I mean, it's up to you guys.
I would ask for clarification for the record that the original intent was to pay for these out of existing reserves, and that
Correct.
still is the
Correct.
intent? No loans for this at all?
Yeah, there's no
Okay.
loans for this.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor, Minister Yergis, I wouldn't anticipate you coming back with any little things. I think you can, from my standpoint, use your discretion to get the best product for the best price that's gonna hold up at the utility billing.
Yeah, and that's why, I brought some of the sample chairs just to, show you what was bid and what the alternatives were, and, I mean, we can look at those detail if you want, but, there are a few areas where, we feel they might be a little cheap, so.
That certainly is an appropriate comment in latitude with the volume that we're doing and considering, certainly. Any other questions? Yes, Bill?
People out there to hear it, is, two things. If there's anybody out there who's looking for furniture, there is some furniture we'll be getting rid of that's very useful, and, we've even got some stuff left over from City Hall, and if you would say that the money we generated from that could go towards the overage, I'm
I
not
don't
saying
think
there will be
won't
any, but
an overage.
if there was, that'd be an option. I'm just throwing that out there, but I'm hoping somebody hears this and wants a new desk, so.
Is that the
A
senior
used,
center stuff?
a
new
used,
desk.
a new used desk. Okay, any other comments? Clerk will call the roll.
Nelson.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Jarvis.
Yes.
Markham.
Yes.
Fernsler. Williams.
Yes.
Motion carried, thank you. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Alder Markham.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?